Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Review. Alrighty my friends, welcome to another mega weekly wrap up. This is I think like almost the third one in a row just because that's how my trips and weekends away ended up getting spaced out. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the books that I read between June 29th and today, July 12th, which is when I'm filming this. And it's going to cover a lot, okay? I have some mixed opinions on some things, some possibly controversial opinions on some things, some books that I absolutely loved. I had the last few in a row were all like 5-star reads, but I just had a very interesting ups and downs. So it was a great holiday weekend last weekend, spending time with my friends. It was great. I will say I slept wrong like 2 days ago. Thankfully, not my back. It's not my back about to kill me this time, but I did sleep weird with my neck. And so it hurts if I go this way or too far this way. And I can't see the chiropractor until Wednesday. Foolishly, I had actually postponed my appointment because I didn't really need to see her yet. And I only have so many appointments that are covered with my insurance. So if I don't need to see the chiropractor that week, I usually push it off a little bit. And so I had pushed it off. And then the next day, my neck just like, it's so tight. So if I look a little stiff and uncomfortable, it's because I am, but not for any other reason than it's the pits getting old, you guys. We just talk about it. You sleep wrong and your body hates you the next day. It truly is like the worst thing ever. But before we get into the books, which there are a lot, I want to welcome some new patrons. So I don't know if you guys saw me share this in my YouTube community page, but I did run a holiday sale which allowed for a pretty big discount if you signed up for an annual membership. And so we have some new followers here, or some new supporters to thank. So I have a Blair, welcome Blair. I have A. Adams, Delia F, and Janice L, who all joined to support. So thank you all so much for being here, for helping me do what I do. Yeah, you guys are just really special and you make this job so much fun to do. So now we're going to get into the books I read. I have, I think, 11 to talk about. So pretty good amount because I have a lot to say about some of these. So let's get into it. So first up, I had a reread because I needed to annotate a book for Patreon, as well as, this one was for Patreon. So I actually reread Brutal Vows by J.T. Geisinger, which is book 4 in the Queens and Monsters series and is actually the only one in the series that I hadn't annotated yet. So I was happy to do that for one of my patrons. Part of the reason why I didn't have this one annotated yet is that these books, of course, were taken off the market. The physical copies were while they were republished. And so that means I couldn't buy new copies to annotate. That is one of the struggles with doing that for people, is that if for some reason books get pulled because authors get TradPub deals, then we lose it. But this is book 4 in the series. This one is Raina and Spider, aka Homer Quinn is his name. She refuses to call him Spider, so she does call him Quinn most of the time. But in this book, this one is between Spider, who is from the Irish Mafia, and he is supposed to marry Lily, who's this sweet, kind, barely 18 years old Italian Mafia heir, and her brother is setting up this relationship with the Irish, right? Now, they wanted to set up a relationship with Declan and one of their heirs, but Declan has already married Sloane, he is claimed, and Spider, who recently had some romantic disappointments, is willing to do this, basically, as he's kind of like, fuck it, I'll do it, I don't care. And then we have Raina, who is actually the aunt of Lily, and she is a widow. She's not super old, though she was married off. I think when we do the math, like, she was married off to this old creep at like 16 or something. I don't know, because it says she was married for a certain amount of time and she's been a widow for a couple of years. And she's younger than Spider is, so I don't even know. But the point is, Raina is a badass bitch, and like the name she was named for, which Reina is a version of like queen or something like that. She is a badass bitch, and her and Spider immediately butt heads, and she is very upset because her niece is getting married off. And one of the things her brother, who's currently the head of the family, had promised her was that she could have a say in who her niece married because of what happened to Reina, who was in an extremely abusive relationship until her husband suspiciously died. But she is not a Black Widow, y'all. We would never accuse her of having done that. But she wants to look out for her niece, and her brother is just saying, it's too bad, we have to have this alliance, and so Lily is going to do that. The only thing is that Lily is kind of sort of in love with someone else, and kind of sort of has, shall we say, done something about that love. It is not unrequited by any means. That is basically going to mean that Reina will need to be the one who marries Spider. But it does take us a while to get to that point, and the banter between them is just crazy. And because Spider is attracted to Reina, obviously she's much more his type, she's much closer to his age, he has really no interest in his young bride, though he does think she's sweet and he feels protective of her. He's, you know, not exactly wanting to get in bed with her, which good for him. Good for him. It's, you know, it definitely puts us in an awkward place as mafia lovers, though, because we've also read books where the 40-year-old mafia guy gets married to the 18-year-old girl, and we're like, okay with it, right? But in this case, that's not how it's going to go down. This actually leads to a scene that is a change of the bride, like on the wedding day type of thing. I mean, that's kind of spoilers, but also, it's also kind of the crux of the matter here is them ending up getting married. And the way that Spider, who has been so purposely ignoring her, he's almost banned her from his presence because he's attracted to her, and he's like, I will be faithful to my bride and I won't be distracted by anyone else. But when Reina gets offered up as an alternative, the way this man goes 10 toes down, I am all about it. He's like, yes. Like, he cannot say yes fast enough because this was not an option. And now when it becomes an option, he's trying to play it cool, but he's actually like, fuck yes. I'm so in. I would so much rather be married to this feisty, wild, sexy woman than to a child, right? And we appreciate it. So this book is just bonkers, as all of the best J.T. Geisinger books are. This is not the last time she will show up on this weekly wrap-up, but because I have another book to talk about of hers. But this was so great to revisit. This, at the time, I don't know if y'all remember back a little ways, but this series was my, like, first ever 6-star series. In fact, I don't think there's been another series that all the books have been 6 stars. This one absolutely is. Like, I adore it. It's a staple in my Mafia collection, and it was great to get to revisit this one and finally get this one annotated and put in my collection. So, great to do that. Next up, I had another reread that I'll just mention pretty quickly. So this one was for Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov, and I annotated this for one of my followers one of my patrons who is getting this whole series done. And I had read books 2 and 3, which were Wild Rain or Wild River, I don't know. And then this one, Forbidden King, are the only ones I have read. So I haven't read the other 3 in the series. I'll be reading Beating Heart this month, which will be great. So yeah, Forbidden King, this one is a friends to lovers, and a few of the things I noticed about this time. So again, I had read this one, I had an ALC of this one, so I listened to it, really enjoyed it. And I was enjoying it this time around too, and though the things that irked me last time still did irk me this time, there was also just a couple things I pulled from it as well. So this one's supposed to be a brother's best friend, but it really is one where, like, they're also best friends. And this is Sailor and King in this small town. And there was a time where King was really looking out for Sailor when the brother couldn't be around. And even now the brother is a traveling, like, it's the wrong word, like, he's not a traveling firefighter, but they get, like, called to help with, like, firefighters or fires that are away from. He's out of town for points, and King is looking out for her. Now, they both are very attracted to each other, but they're not going to do anything about it because of her brother, I guess, is the reason we're not going to do anything. And B, because he would struggle to settle down. So you can maybe see like why like that type of thing like annoys me when that's the style of it, is like he's such a playboy, they can't ever settle down together, but really she's the one he's wanted all of this time while he was being a playboy. You know, like I always struggle with those tropes because I'm like, okay, so he was a man whore because he couldn't have the woman he wanted. I don't know. I'm just not as into that these days. However, they're very sweet together. And again, like I was going through it, I was like, yep, I remember liking this and not liking that parts of it because it's like sweet, but also he was annoying. Like it's this back and forth feeling that I was having for it. But one of the things I picked up this time that I thought was really fun is like they're both sunshine, you know? I've read ones where they're both the grumps, and I've read ones where, of course, grumpy sunshine or even reverse grumpy sunshine. They're both the sunshine in this. Like he is not a grumpy broody or even really, he's a tiny bit tortured about the fact that he's having these obsessions with his best friend's little sister, who he had kind of thought he saw as a sister when they were young, but I mean, now he doesn't. They're older. That's okay to change how you feel. But at the same time, it was also like, they're both sunshine. They're both so like happy and great people. And even though they have struggles in their lives, they're both really happy. So that was just something that I mentioned this time around, is I was like, they're both sunshine. You don't read that very often. Granted, because it doesn't usually give a lot of like character conflict, right? And this one, why I do end up giving this one a 4-star, is because of that. Like it was very manufactured what kept them apart, when it's clear that like they just need to decide to be together, right? And this was one too where she wants to hide that they're together from her brother. And King, he says it. He's like, if I keep this a secret, it's going to be bad. Like, we should just be out with it. But yet he was the one saying like, I don't know if I can commit to you. So she's like, well, how about you don't tell my brother you're just sleeping with me? How about we see what's going to come of it first? So it's like, it's a weird thing because I appreciated that the author acknowledges like in a brother's best friend romance, the whole problem is that you don't tell the person, right? Because plenty of people, let's be honest, plenty of people in real life, you marry your best friend's sibling because you spend so much time with them. I've said this before, like in my life, my friends, like that's happened in multiple places. Like I have Matt and Jesslyn, who I mentioned a ton of times on here, these anonymous people I mentioned. Matthew was like a brother to me and is my best friend's older brother. And Jesslyn is another one of our friends, and they got married. They've been married for 8 years now, right? They're the ones who have all the sweet babies that I cuddle and snuggle, and I just love it. They're amazing. But like they were a best friend's brother, and my friend was more excited than anyone in the world that her best friend was marrying her brother, okay? Granted, I know sometimes it goes the other way where it's like, well, if it's a brother's best friend, like they might be more protective, right? But as for like a best friend's brother, my best friend was like the #1 cheerleader for it. Like it was great, right? So I'm always someone who's like, there needs to be a good reason, and just being like, oh, he was a playboy. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. So anywho, I didn't mean to go on a rant on this one. I was going to talk quick. I like it. It's fun. And like I was saying, I like that the author acknowledges it. But just know, if you want a low angst book, this one was great because the only angst is them being like a little nervous to tell her brother. And the way the brother reacts, he reacts badly for about 2 pages. And then he has the thing where he's like, you know what? You always protect my sister. I know you would cut off your own hand before anything hurt her. So I'm sorry that I freaked out, right? Like that is the reaction you want the brother to have when there's no reason. Yes, your friend slept around. He wasn't abusing women, or he doesn't have 5 children with other women. Like he was sowing his wild oats, you know, like, I don't know. So good one. It was fun to revisit. Next up, there was so those were 2 rereads that I had right off the bat. See, and I spent too long talking about those ones. Then I read The Rule Breaker by Elle Nickel. Okay. So if you'll remember my like last weekly wrap up and even my monthly wrap up, because I made The Matchmaker one of my favorite reads of June. And I really, really enjoyed that. That one was about this woman who is kind of she sees herself as a matchmaker and she really feels the vibes of people. So she is a little bit hooky, but I adored her. And the hero in that one, Sterling, is like the optimum of a gentleman in a contemporary romance, okay? Like he was a true silver fox, like almost an elegant man, okay? Without being stuffy. He was kind, he was like, anyway, I can't say enough nice things about Sterling. I adore him, okay? And I truly, truly, truly try The Matchmaker, okay? That book was so good. I gave that one 4.5 stars, but like I am enjoying it. Like I've enjoyed talking about it so much with people that I probably will bump that one to a 5 because the things that I didn't like were not enough to detract from it, right? I was just being a bit persnickety about it. And honestly, it was so good. Like it had a few too many sex scenes for me, but like not off-putting ones. Like they genuinely were so in love. And it was such a good connection that even though I was like, okay, we don't need another sex scene, it wasn't gratuitous in a raunchy way. Like they were into each other and I was here for it, right? You know, I don't know. I don't know if that's like it for you, but for me, there's a line there where it's like, you're gratuitously throwing sex in here because you think your story needs it. And there's like, you've written 2 characters that are just intoxicated with one another and I believe it, right? Does that make sense? Anyway, Elle Nickel had me believing that in that one. So with this one though, there's a reason why the PR team, which is Home Cooked Books PR, they do audio arcs. They're a newer company that I found. I've only done 2 arcs with them, or ALCs with them so far, but I just like it. They have some of the more lesser known authors that they work with. And The Rule Breaker is the one that's the new release, which in fact, the Rule Breaker's out now. It is. It came out on the 11th. So The Rule Breaker is out now. But at the time, like this was the one that wasn't out yet. But The Matchmaker, you really should read The Matchmaker first. Because that's the dad's story. And we see it get set up about how he became a widow. And like how his daughter, who is the heroine of this one, how she set him up with this matchmaker. And then he ended up being set up with the matchmaker, right? Like they fall in love. And near the end of that book and throughout that book, we find out that there are some mysterious things happening that possibly had to do with the death of the wife and the brother. Okay, so he lost his wife and his son, and our heroine lost her mother and her brother. And she wanted her dad to be able to move on, and because it was known by all of them, both the son and then his living son and daughter, or the father and the son and daughter, that the mother had been cheating on him when she died. So that didn't mean they hated her. Like him and her were an arranged marriage. So yes, it hurt to be cheated on, that she wouldn't just, tell him so they could get separated. But it meant that like his children are pretty accepting of him moving on, right? Which, that can be a sticky thing. If the kids were like, you're betraying our mother. And no, it's the kids who are like, Dad, it's okay if you move on, right? So in this one, though, there's some extra protection that needs to happen. Now, they are jewelry magnates or whatever word we're using for billionaires. And so she is an heiress. She's also a model. And she's definitely had protection before. But the father is like, honey, there is a legitimate danger to you in the form of the affair partner. What is it? The lover of the mother has been trying to get in contact with members of this family, and we don't know why or what's going on. And so the father assigns his personal bodyguard, which he has multiple bodyguards. His personal bodyguard is Denver, and Denver gets assigned for the time being to protect Sinclair. So Sinclair is the heroine. It is confusing because they all have S names. So Sterling was the dad, Sinclair is the daughter, and I can't remember what the son's name, but he's an S too, but I can't remember what his name is. And she has been having some graffiti show up on like her vehicle and in places that she's been. And so Denver gets assigned as her personal bodyguard, and he takes it extremely seriously, right? Now, Denver has also had a secret pining for Sinclair for quite a while. I don't think there's like a huge age gap between these two, because she's in her like mid-20s. Is she in her mid-20s? I don't know. Maybe she's like 23, so she's young. Maybe he's 10 years older than her. I don't know what it is. But either way, he's kept things very professional, and she's really given him like a hard time. She doesn't like how much he protects her and is always around. And so she has a little bit of the theme of like, girl, you are a billionaire's heiress. Like, you need to be protected. Like this, why, right? But so there were parts of that that really annoyed me at times. However, it's kind of just that her and him really butt heads. Like, there are other members of the staff of bodyguards that, like, she doesn't give as much of a hard time to about it. So it's really because, like, those two get under each other's skin. So that made me ease up on her a little bit. Also, there is then a point in the book, and this gave me a lot of empathy towards her, okay, that we have a time during this book where we do the whole, like, he takes her to a secret location to protect her. And I'll explain that part of it, and then I'll move on so I don't explain the whole book to you. But she's being a bit stubborn about some things, and then she has this sweet little pup, okay? It's one of those ugly, almost hairless pups, and someone tries to kidnap her dog, okay? Her sweet little puppy, and these two goons who, this isn't related to the ex-lover stuff. It's related to because she is famous, and they try to steal her dog for ransom. And, like, literally, I cried. And she begins to take things very seriously because of her pup, okay? And so I forgive her because she might have been willing to put herself in danger, which is still stupid because why would you do that to your dad and your brother to let yourself get in danger? But for the sake of her pup, she's like, you know what? I'm not messing around anymore. And so Denver, though, he ends up taking her to a cabin that he owns, her and her dog, which, by the way that he's so sweet with her dog, I won't spoil it, but there are some things that he does specifically just for her dog that I was like, marry him now, okay? I'm not even the one who's like, I need my dog with me all the time. But the things that he does for her pet, because not only just for her, because he genuinely likes her pet. And this pet is almost like an emotional support animal for her. She got this dog after her mom and brother died. And he's just the sweetest little pet. I think Monty is the name of the dog. I don't know, but she just loves her pet. And there's a great respect that everyone has for this dog, you know, like they don't like tease on him too much or call him like ugly or things like that, which can happen with, you know, an ugly pet that a rich girl keep. Like, they respect this dog a lot, and like I could cry. It's really sweet because this dog, like, he is like therapy for her, but he helps her not have dark thoughts and like everything that a good pet can do, right? Like, you know what a good pet can do for you if you've ever had that happen, because there's an innocence and a joy that comes from a pet, and that's what Monty is. And so the respect that Denver has for her dog, because he genuinely likes the dog, okay? It's none of that like, oh, he's rolling his eyes and like, she's like, hold my pup for me type of thing. Like, no, he genuinely likes her dog and cares about him. And okay, I'll just tell you so you read it. He takes her to a place to take care of her, and he has everything ready for the dog, and not just food and a leash. Like, he has these sweet dog beds, and at every place she goes, there is a dedicated spot for her dog ready to go. He's not an afterthought. He's just as much of a priority as she is to him. And again, it's not just because he's like, well, I gotta take care of the dog. And so anyway, I'm sorry, that just tells you a bit about the type of character that Denver is, because not only does he care about this family because they're important to him, and because we know he's secretly lusting after her, like we do know that, but he genuinely cares about this family. And I won't go into all of his backstory, but in the chance that Sterling gave him to protect his family, that he goes above and beyond. And so that does make you a little sour towards Sinclair at times. But he is also hiding all that, right? Like, he hides all that, and he very much is like the tough-ass bodyguard of like, don't disobey me, like, there will be consequence. Like, he has those things, but then you see all this stuff about him that, like, again, there's a certain place that he keeps a dog bed, and he has had said dog bed in that place since she bought the dog, though she has never been to that place with her dog, okay? I'm telling you, this is king activity, okay? This is king activity. If he wanted to, he would, ladies. If he wanted to, he would, and not just because he's paid to do this job, okay? So anywho, I need to move along with this story. I didn't mean to talk forever about it, but I mean, yes, I did. Like, you guys know me. So I just really like this man, and Sinclair really grew on me. And yes, he takes her to a secluded place. They're learning self-defense. And the way that things actually boil over for these two is that they're doing self-defense, and she's not really getting into it. And so he says, let's try almost a role play for this. He's like, I'm going to actually come after you. I'm not going to pull a punch. Like, he's not going to try to punch her, but he's like, I'm going to legitimately try to take you. And things turn interesting when we do that, because it kind of turns into like a CNC situation where he's trying to really scare her, and he gets a bit weirded out by it by the end, because he's like, well, I was really trying to show her this, but now I feel like I went too far, because he's getting turned on by like trying to subdue her, and she's getting turned on by him trying to subdue her. And it kind of like, he's like, okay, I can't do that again. I thought it would help. And she's like, dude, that really helped me. But he's like, I don't know if I can see you as my prey or whatever. And so anyway, it does lead to them having sex one of the times they do this. And now it's all just cracked open. And the way that he switches how he's going to look at it, the way that he's now like, we're not going to keep this a dirty secret, but we're going to try to protect you, I appreciate it. So I will just say this. Denver, he was a 5, if not a 6-star hero. Okay? Truly, this man, I adore him. And it's 2 for 2, because Sterling, he's a prince. He's a book boyfriend, a book daddy, whatever you want to call, because there is a tiny bit of daddy going on in that one. Like, he is that. Okay? But this heroine I struggled with a bit, and mostly with what our third act conflict was, because it was all her. What saves it for me is how Denver reacts. And so, after all of that, after all my wind up, I definitely recommend this series. I've loved both of them for different reasons. And I did end up at like a 4 for this one, 4.5. But I really liked it, and I'm really looking forward to the next one, which will be The Brother. Though she does have this one listed as next year. And I'm like, no, now that I've read these, I really like them. And we're going to get The Brother story, which appears to be, will it be a nanny? It might be a nanny, because the brother is a single dad. So, anywho, this one had some anal, breath play, hand necklaces, a bit of that CNC stuff, and some squirting. There's been squirting in both of them. There's been anal in both of them. It's clear what Al Nichol likes to put in her books, and I'm okay with it. This does have some trigger warnings for blackmail, death, and grief. And I mean, kind of danger to the animal, but the fools don't get Monty, but they try to take him. So just be aware of that. And this was duet narrated by 2 people. I forgot to mention this. Heaven forbid. I have never heard either of these narrators, though they narrated the first one as well. It's the same narrators, but like, they're fantastic. And this was Madison Mitz and Theodore Zephyr. I've never heard of them before, but I will have an eye out for them now, because after hearing them narrate The Matchmaker and The Rule Breaker, I'm in. Okay, then I read Beg For Me by J.T. Geisinger. Okay, so I told you J.T. Geisinger would show up again. Maybe you forgot already, but let me remind you. So, this one is the 3rd book, and I think it's supposed to be the final one in her, what was this series called? Shoot, I forgot to write down what this series was, but anyway, there was Liars Like Us. What was the last one? I just read it last week. Or last one, but I don't know. Then Beg For Me. And I've already explained this. I signed up for an ARC for this ages ago, and then the book got postponed, and finally it came out on July 1st. And this one was so interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot because J.T. Geisinger finally followed through on a few of the things. Like, this is why this was good, why I read Brutal Vows, because there are some things that are like teased at in Brutal Vows that she didn't fully go there with Spider and Raina. And what it was in that one is that Spider has a bit of a praise kink. And when he is like pleasuring Raina and she says like, you're so strong, you protect me, I'm obsessed with you, he like loses his mind when she praises him. So like, yeah, he has praise kink. But he was still the dominant-ish one in the relationship. Like, they do a role play where he's tied up, but he's still pretty much the dominant one in there. And she teased us with that, and we went crazy over that, okay? Now in Beg For Me, she went there with this one, okay? So in this one, we have Carter and Sophia is, I believe, 40. She is just recently divorced. She has a teenager. I think her teenager is like 15. And she actually works for a company that is a rival to Carter's company. And Carter, he's become obsessed with Sophia. I think he's the CFO, or is he the computer? I don't know. But for his brothers, like, he is the one who has some trauma in his past. Now, it's not like our heroines had a walk in the park, but I won't tell you what happened to our hero, but he's actually the one who has some trauma in his past, comparatively, okay? It's usually the heroines who've lived through, like, the worst thing, and it's actually our hero who's lived through some stuff. And he's actually in therapy. Also, he wears glasses. Also, he's a bit nerdy, but of course he's as sexy as sin. And he's obsessed with Sophia. And he actually, like, asks her out. And she is kind of, like, confused by this because, A, he works for a rival company. Like, they're major. And he's, like, the son of the company as well, right? He also is good amount younger than her. I think he's 28. And like I said, she's 40. So, good difference in age, and he just does not understand why she's obsessed with him. But she does agree to, like, go on a date with him, and we'll just skip things along. They end up, like, kind of seeing each other, and this could get them, well, mostly her, in some hot water, because again, he is a competitor, and he's the son of the owner of that, and the son of the, like, or the brother of the CEO, so it could be sticky. But he wants her, and he wants her so bad. And in a lot of ways, he wants her to boss him around. He loves when she will kind of take charge. Now, it's super hot, the scenes that exist. Like, there's a scene where she punishes him with a wooden spoon, which definitely gave me throat. See, this is what I'm saying. She put things in this book that she'd been teasing us with before, okay? Because in Ruthless Creatures, if you'll remember, before that heroine will let the hero spank her, he lets her spank him first. And so she spanks him with a hairbrush. And then he spanks her. But in this one, to punish him for being sassy, she makes him bring her a wooden spoon, turn around, bend over, and she spanks him, and also, like, runs the wooden spoon, like, around things. Let's just say. Okay, it was hot. So much so that he basically, like, comes from her spanking him. Now, I know that doesn't turn everyone on. That's okay. It's fine. But if you read how it comes about in this, it's honestly, like, in the same way that I love seeing a woman find her, like, freedom in someone bossing her around, the way that he, who has felt like he needs to live up to certain expectations, that he needs to fit, like, that kind of freedom you usually see happen in, like, an MM romance, when it's, like, another man that lets a man have that freedom. To have this woman who is very confident, very, like, in charge, but not this complete, like, she's not practiced at being a dom. And in fact, she still likes when he takes charge too. But for her to see that, like, he needs that and he hasn't been getting it, and she's like, we can definitely play with this a little bit. Like, let's play around with this a little bit, is so, like, validating for the hero, who, again, is still has all the qualities we love. He's still the obsessive part. He still is ready to burn anyone who tries to hurt her. Like, I'm obsessed with him, okay? I loved Carter. He was wonderful. So there were some great scenes of that in here, but particularly that first time where, and also her, like, lots of, like, ordering him to eat her out, lots of her telling him, you can't come till I tell you to. But then there was also a scene where, like, they talk about it, and she's like, I don't want, like, any restraints used, and I don't want these certain things, but you can do some things to me too, the, like, play that they have there. And then, yeah, I mean, there's the normal things too, where, like, again, she's 40 and she has a teenager, and people are like, well, you're going to want kids and you're going to want this. And I just enjoyed that there are assumptions that are usually made of women that are made of a man in this one. And the way that he talks through them with her, the way that he's able to be open about, these are expectations people have of me, and I feel inadequate, right? Like, this hero is a bit insecure. He has anxiety, and he goes to therapy. And again, that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea in kind of a dark romance, right? That's not who we're looking for usually in that. But the way that JT balances that, I thought was really powerful. And I still was so into Carter because he was exactly what the heroine needed. Now, I gave this one 4.5 stars because there were still some things I was missing, but they are kind of the sacrifice when you have a hero who's going to have to work through certain things like that. There are going to be some places where he can't be all of the things, right? He has to have weaknesses too. But overall, I gave this one 4.5 stars. It's a 3.5 on the spice scale. I loved the anxiety reputation. There is some discussion of harm to a child because we do find, as I said, we find out what happened to him when he was young. And there is also like emotional gaslighting. There is some neglect and emotional abuse from her ex-husband. So some of those things. But overall, this is one of the lesser dark romances by J.T. Geisinger. And I still, like, it really reawakened some of the magic of hers I had that, I'll be honest, like, Liars Like Us did not work for me. And so that's what took me so long to get back into this series, is because after the high that was the Queens and Monsters series, and even kind of Pen Pal, though I see Pen Pal very differently than any of her other stuff, of course. Liars Like Us just felt like a really big letdown, and that was tough for me. But the other two books in this series, like, I think I gave the one I had read before just a 4, and I gave this one 4.5. So, enjoyed it. Okay, next up, this is one of the ones that is just, like, really out there. I read one of my only nonfiction of the year. No, I'm just kidding. I may read another, but I was really interested in giving this book a try, and so I grabbed the audiobook with one of my Audible credits, and I listened to it over the holiday weekend. And that was My Next Breath by Jeremy Renner. This is an like a memoir is what they said, because it's not about his entire career or anything. It's about a specific event. And so this was, of course, narrated by him. And I know he did have a ghostwriter who helped him put it together. But it is referencing the incident on literally New Year's Day of 2023. When, is it 2023 or 2022? Now I can't remember when it was. Let me just look it up. Yes, I was right. Okay, so January 1st of 2023 in Reno, Nevada, near his home, he was attempting to keep a snowcat, which is like a super huge like snow machine that helps move lots of snow in the mountains, from running over his nephew. And so he jumped into the snowcat and was trying to hit the emergency stop button because his nephew was standing like between the snow machine and a truck, and it would have just like crushed him. And instead he was able to like get up there, but he ended up falling, and it ran over him very slowly and in pain. And so he broke 38 bones, including his ribs, shoulder, his face. He had a collapsed lung and a pierced liver, and he very much could have died. Okay. And I had heard about this incident when it happened. And I was shocked. And then more recently, I heard about the book when he had some interviews that he did about it. So I knew I wanted to listen to that. Again, I don't read a lot of memoirs. You guys should know that. Here I'm a romance channel, but just taking a pause from romance for a minute. There are a few things I have read. There's some true crime ones I've read. There's a few like other like famous people that I've read their memoirs, and I enjoy that now and then, particularly the audiobooks, because usually for a memoir these days, the person reads their book. And I find Jeremy Renner's voice plenty pleasant to listen to. And so, yeah, My Next Breath, the book is only like 212 pages. The audiobook was only 6.5 hours. And when I had it like sped up a little, now I'll say a few other things about it. I didn't speed this up as fast as I do normal books, and I'll tell you why again in a minute. But I still got through it in about 4 hours, which was the 2-hour drive to where I was going, and then it was a couple hours before my friends got there. So I basically listened to that. I cried a ton. Oh my God, I cried so much. It was actually embarrassing because I was at camp, where I've talked about this camp before that I go to, but it's not a camp where you're all sleeping outside. Like there are hotels and stuff to rent for this camp we go to. And I was like sitting in the corner, like doodling, listening to this and like weeping. And I'm like, people probably thought something was really bad. And like, I was just listening to very powerful storytelling. So yeah, he goes over the incident. And then this is about his recovery. And so My Next Breath like refers to just how he was making it through. And it goes back to the fact of like, he had to actively think about breathing when this happened because his lungs, of course, were really fucked up. And if he had just, breathing is an automatic response for us, right? Like, it's hard to, you can't like stop yourself from breathing or you die, right? It's not the same as pretty much any other activity, And when he was, in middle of incident, he had to concentrate on breathing or he would have died, right? And so that is kind of his theme he pulls back to throughout the whole book. And overall, like, it was a really powerful story to read. It begins with this little essay from his daughter, which that started me off rough because she reads it in the audiobook. She reads this little passage about how her dad is her hero. And she says not because he was a hero in movies, but because he was so focused on like his recovery. And she talks about how he was in a wheelchair and then one day he's the one who picked her up from school and he was walking. He was using his cane, but he was walking to come and get her. And it was good. So what I'll say, I don't generally like rate memoirs that I read because, even though he had someone who obviously helped him write it, like he tells that, he's not lying and saying he did it. Though again, I don't know the name of the person who partnered with him. Like he says it in his interviews. He's like, there was someone who like interviewed me and helped me like focus the thoughts. And then he's the one who actually interviewed all of his family members because they were obviously filling in what was happening around him. And it was really powerful. Now there are some critiques on it because I did go and look. Like I said, I like rated it and then I was like, I don't feel good about this. But I will tell you, just because I am also a book reviewer, and I can see where some of the weaknesses come from in that. It was very repetitive about the like My Next Breath parts of it, which I know that was his theme. But I feel like whoever was helping him put this together could have also been like, okay, we get it. Like you've told us in the beginning what the premise is. And each chapter, sure, you can reference that, but there would be parts where he would just like really spiral into the philosophy of My Next Breath. As well as when he was healing, because it is miraculous, you guys. Okay, there's no way around it. And he does also acknowledge his like privilege in it of like, I had the money to be able to have this type of recovery. I had the family around me doing this. And he's like, this happened to someone else somewhere else, they would not have had this as I did. He's like, I was able to have like, so there's a lot of critiques of people talking about how elitist and like stuck up this is that he's sharing about his healing journey. And I don't see it that way at all. Like particularly listening to it. I don't know if I read it with my eyes and I hadn't heard his genuine like emotion while he's reading this about just how he is fully aware of his blessings in every day. And that one of the parts I found the most moving about it was how aware he was, how much this was hurting people around him. Because once he was hurt, he says, he's like, once I was hurt, like it was out of my hands, right? Like not completely. He's like, besides breathing, all the other stuff was out of my hands until I woke up. And then, then he had to engage in like helping himself heal and doing what he could. But he's like, it was all on my family. It was on the people who found me. It was on the responders who got there first. It was on the person on 911. Like he's like, if I had died, I was a horror story to them, like I would be this absolutely tragic thing that happened to them. And he's like, it helped him focus on healing to not make it about himself. Because he's like, I need to heal for my daughter. His daughter's always number one, of course. He's like, I needed to heal for my daughter. But for all those people who had to see me like this, for his nephew, who he saved his nephew's life. He did, that's no question. He stopped, like that machine would have killed his nephew where his nephew was. It should have killed him. And in his mind, he's like, that was a fair trade to me. But my nephew maybe wouldn't have seen it that way, right? So anywho, I won't reveal like the whole thing. It's pretty short. You can listen to it if you want to. I thought it was good as his story, it's miraculous. It's amazing, to listen to. And, the charity that he has and the stuff that he does now with it is like, oh, it's amazing. Like, that's awesome. But in the actual construction of the book and the story part of it, I think that it could have used some refining to help get the message across without being so repetitive. So I think I put a rating on Goodreads, but I'm not going to tell you my rating is because I enjoyed it and I do recommend it if you appreciate healing journeys, or you liked Hawkeye, or you liked Jeremy Renner. I think it was definitely worth the couple hours that I spent with it. But I've read better memoirs, if that makes sense. But again, I just feel so weird saying that, because how can you say someone's story is more important or better than someone else when it's actual truth, you know? Like, I don't know. So, anywho, that is another one I read. Okay, man, we're already 46 minutes in, and now we're getting to the crux of the matter here, the controversial take, as it were. So, oh my God, how do I even like narrow this down? I don't know, because what I'm about to talk about, I talked about with my patrons in a video, which patrons, it hasn't gone up yet, but it will. And I talked about this for a half an hour in that video. So we'll see. I've been talking about it for a while. So what am I talking about? Which other book did I finish? I read Rose in Chains. I had both an ALC and an ARC, and as it is, I still finished it like the day that it came out because I was procrastinating it. And I've talked about how excited I am for the books that are by fanfic authors and or are fanfiction reimagined, how excited I've been about those. And I've kind of got a retraction in a way, like I'll explain why I think this isn't as exciting as I once thought it was. I always did have some reservations because I was worried how they were going to turn out. But I'll be honest, before reading this book as a published work that is going to make this author money, like there are already 5 different editions of this. This is going full bore in on it. I think we'll only see more and more of this happen. I was most worried that it would be, how much were they going to change it from the original? Now, when I now refer to original for the rest of this, I mean from the auction, which, yes, I have a beautiful bound copy that Mel made for me as a gift a few years ago. I love this. I love all my fics that are made. When I now refer to the original, I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll talk about something else. But I was worried about, oh, well, how different it's going to be, like, and that's something I was really focused about. And first let's talk about the reading experience of it, and then we'll get into the stuff that I'm confused and a little disturbed about, and has really had me rethinking how I'm going to approach these fics made into produced work. Okay. This is also a very heavy book, and because of my neck, I'm going to put it up behind my head, because it hurts to hold it up for too long. Okay. Okay. So Rose in Chains is based on The Auction by Love Bitka 8, which is a Dramini fan fiction. Julie Soto, who has already been releasing some books. She released a book that was kind of inspired by like Raylo, but it wasn't a Raylo fan fiction made into a book. It just was a Raylo inspired in the way that like The Love Hypothesis was, or something like that. And this year there's like 3 main fanfics turned books that we were looking at. We were looking at Rose in Chains, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, and Alchemized, which is set to come in September. Irresistible Urge and Rose in Chains both came out on July 8th, which I haven't gotten to Irresistible Urge yet. I have heard, I know this now, that Irresistible Urge is not its original like fanfic just renamed or anything. It's the same author of that fic, and they named it in a way that makes it feel like it's that. But from everyone I've heard, it, and even the author herself, she very much has said that it is different. And it's a completely different story. Again, I don't know if that's true, but from the people who've read both, they've said it is. So if you've read both now, you tell me. But I never finished The Mortifying Ordeal of Falling in Love. I got like 30% in, and then I got kind of bored. So I never finished that one, and I haven't read Irresistible Urge. So I'm just now speaking on Rose in Chains. And to speed this along, I enjoyed my reading of it pretty much the whole way through, okay? So I started by listening to it, and there were all these things that I was picking up on, and I was like, oh my God, it's so much like The Auction. Like, the names are different. The heroine's name is Bryony, and the hero's name is Tovin. And when I was listening to it, the way that the Bryony name was said sometimes, it almost sounded like Myony. So I was enjoying that. Okay, like, again, I'm not gonna I was enjoying that. I was like, oh my God, it's so much like it. And as I was reading the whole thing through, I was like, wow, this is so good. It's so similar. I just love that. And I was having a grand old time with it. Okay. Then I finished it. And then there was like first a few just like story things. I was like, oh, but this was still long. Like, I was hopeful. And it's only part one. There's supposed to be 3 of these. It's going to be a trilogy. And I was like, oh, one of the things I was looking forward to is them like, slimming down the fics because, a lot of these are so big because they're written serialized and maybe the author doesn't fully know where they're going when they start it. Like, this fic is 325,000 words, right? Like, this is big, that's a long one. So at first I was just annoyed kind of with those things where I was like, wow, couldn't we done this and this? And then I really started to sit with it. And I really was listening to, I try to stay off of threads just because A, I like to make my own decisions and opinions on things, and B, I just think it can get so toxic there. And sometimes the issues people bring up are legit and sometimes they aren't, right? And one of the arguments about Rose in Chains that I was seeing, and not just Rose in Chains but the others, is that this is Dramini fic. You're giving too much attention to the original work and to the original author, and we all know that is a dangerous pit to step into of what people's opinions are about the author of said original work, right? Not the auction, which I said we'll refer to as original. And I, for the most part, just kind of am like, I'm going to make up my own opinions. I enjoy fanfic. I have thought some fanfics are some of the most creative fantasies I've ever read. I've said that. I'm not hiding that I've said that. And I have also said, though, and this has been true, that one of the reasons I personally love fanfic is that when I dive into a fanfic, there's already a base level knowledge that I have of it because it is a supernatural fanfic or a Outlander fanfic or an ACOTAR fanfic. There is a base level knowledge you have, and there's a base level world that fanfic author is building off of, and it's why it's a fanfic and it isn't an original work. Even if they've changed so much about it that it isn't like, well, it's not. Like, that's why it's a fanfic. That's why you're not able to sell it as your own thing because you're doing that, right? And I've admitted why fanfic does it for me is because I don't have to start a fantasy world from scratch when I read Manacled, when I read The Auction, when I read Zombie Apocalypse 1, right? Because there's this base level knowledge that I have. And seeing that mixed with people being so upset about that it will put attention to the original work and being like, oh, do I believe that? Again, I'm making up my own mind. I won't be bullied into anything. I wanted to see what I thought about it. And that thing that I love about fanfic, I then start to re-examine because I'm like, well, if the reason that I love fanfic is because a lot of the work is already done for me, as it were, why then, what is it about Rose in Chains then that I'm loving, right? Like, what did I love? And what did I just say? I said I loved how similar it was to The Auction. And the reason why I love The Auction is because it's similar to original work. And so if all the author changed, which again, I know that is hyperbolic, there are other things changed, there are things added. But the things that I loved most were the things that were the same. What is it that's been published here then, right? Like, if I stripped all knowledge I have of The Auction, which there will be people reading it who haven't read The Auction, there'll be people reading it who haven't read the OG material either, because believe it, there are people who haven't read those. We see them pop up all the time. Why am I okay with this being published then? If when we strip those things away, the things that I love best belong to another author. And even if, and this is my logic train, and even if there are reasons to dislike said original author, okay? And there's a reason I'm not saying that name, and it's not for any other reason than the point that I'm about to make. It's because if that was happening to any other author who wasn't one that people scorned, would I be okay with what has been published here? would I be able to rationalize it away? Would I be able to say to people who critique me, like, well, it's not doing anything, because people hate that person, right? I would not be okay if a fic of, here we go, this is why, if I were to read a fan fiction that got published that was ripping off Diana Gabaldon, would I be okay with it? And the answer is no. I firmly wouldn't be okay with it. So that makes me have to hold up a mirror and be intellectually honest, which I do try to do, that why is this okay? Which again, a lot of people say it's not, okay? But I've been saying it was okay, okay? If people are saying this is okay, why are they saying it's okay? And again, you can go look that up and see. And to me, and people will disagree with this, there are some exact, like there's a specific scene. If you've read Rose in Chains, if you've read the scene where they are, let's say, debating the worth of Bryony. See, I even just messed that up. That exact scene is in here, you know, because when I got home, I looked it up, and yeah, their names are different, but the exact scene where they're like, oh, she's worth more because she's a virgin, and she's worth more because she's the sister to the chosen one or whatever, which is what it is in this one. She's sisters with the Harry Potter like character and not friends. And they're just like, I just don't understand how they get away with it. And then you add on the piece, and this is what really was doing it for me, was there was a lot of people pointing out how wrong it is that the PR for these were saying that it's Dramini. They're selling it as this is a Dramini fic, not just saying this is Dramini meets blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, which is a thing people do. Like, if there's a new fantasy, what do they say? They say it's ACOTAR meets Game of Thrones. They say it's The Hunger Games meets Harry Potter. Like, they'll say that. But they're not saying it's literally derived from a Hunger Games fic and then it's been changed, right? They're using those as PR points to say, oh, if you like this, you might like this. Where this is saying this is this, you know? And so this is just my intellectual exercise that I have come to. I've discussed this with multiple friends since I finished it. Both a friend who loved it like I did, but also was like, yeah, that's strange. And one who DNF'd it because they were so annoyed that it was so clearly a ripoff. And I'll tell you, that friend hadn't even read the auction. And they were like, this is so clearly doing that. So I went down a whole journey with this, and it's really causing me to now, really need to reevaluate how I'll feel about these published works and if I want to continue to read them and support them. Now, I'm not going to pretend otherwise about Alchemized. Like, that is already pre-ordered. Like, I'm going to read Alchemized because I am so curious. And I'm also curious about, because Manacled is literally like the poster child of fanfic. You know, their book just happens to be, like, Sin Len Yu's book just happens to be coming later. Someone also pointed out that, you know, Julie Soto isn't publishing as Love Bitka 8, but Sin Len Yu is publishing as her name. Like, the Manacled is under her name. And how is anyone going to think it's anything else other than, like, you won't, you know, Irresistible Urge may be able to say, like, it's a different story, but how can Alchemized possibly do that? The only reason we want that story is because it's Manacled. But I'm like, just because I want a thing, does that mean we should have it, right? Like, it literally goes back to the fact of, like, you can't buy copies of the auction. It's illegal. You can't bind this up and sell it. Again, this was a gift. Nobody purchased this. It was a gift. But why can you not buy this? That's called The Auction by Love Bitka 8, but you can buy Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, which is this. So anyway, that's just mine. I'm not here to shame anyone about it. If you don't give two figs about this, you don't. But again, I just felt one way about it, that I'm like, well, it'll be changed enough, and lots of things are derivative of other things, and this and this and this. And then I'm faced with it, and I'm like, I need to reevaluate my stance because I don't feel good about it. I don't. And though I had a good time reading this, when I was done, I was like, the good time I had reading this is because I liked the auction. And I like reading stories like this, you know? And they did stay really dark, and they did stay true to the things that are heavy content, and like all of that is there, but it's like, but it belongs to someone else, you know? And again, the true answer is, if there is a fanfic of your favorite property that someone that someone did, and now they just change the names and publish it, and they're stealing stuff from that. Like, here's the other thing too. If I'm so against AI art and AI writing, which crowdsources from other things to make a new thing, it's not new. If I'm against that, which is farming material from other creators to make something new, if I am very much against that, why am I okay with this, right? And the answer is, I shouldn't be, if I'm being honest. Again, that's my opinion. But I also do challenge, how is that any different, right? Like, if I'm against AI art, farming content to build something new, like stealing things from other people to do that and then try to sell it, I don't think I can be okay with this, because I wouldn't be okay with it if it was happening to someone else. So anyway, that's me getting off my soapbox. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you are respectful and kind, if you're here to just hate on me because like, oh my God, how dare you have red rose and chains, like, just miss me with it, okay? I wanted to see what this was like, and I'm a fan of fan fiction, okay? So it would be just stupid of me, with the audience I have and all of that, to not give this a go and analyze it for what I thought. So just miss me if you're gonna come for it in another aspect. But if you want to discuss some things I've said, if you agree or disagree, we can totally do that. Let me know if you've read it. Have you read the auction? Did you see how similar it was like I did? What do you think about if this was happening to Sarah J. Maas or Diana Gabaldon or Jay Kristoff or anyone else? Do you think people are uniquely okay with it because of who it is? Or do you think people are only against it because of who it is? Because again, there are a lot of people who just want to absolutely boycott these, but not because it's fanfic. It's because of who the fanfic is of, right? Like, there's so many different quadrants of issues, and at the end of the day, the thing that does stun me most of all of it is that the publishers were using Dramione to sell the books. Because I'm like, that seems so risky to me, to actually say that it's Dramione fanfic that's published it. Like, there's ads that say that. You know, that's the part that's stunning to me, because a lot of times when something is a fanfic that, you know, they're trying to disguise what they've done, they use legalese, like they use illegal words that protect them, right? So what really made me laugh though, like seriously, if you now go to the right, like the copyright page of this, you know, the author has the whole blood audacity to say something that like this content, let's see, where is it? This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictionally. Any resemblance to actual events, locals, persons living or dead is coincidental, right? So, I mean, yeah. But like, is it all from the author's imagination? That kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Because was it? Or was it someone else's imagination and you took some of it? I don't know. I'm not the arbiter of truth with that. This is just my opinion. But we got to move on because, damn it, we got a lot to talk about. I told you that one was going to be a lot. So we'll move some through these quicker though, because there's Crazy Love by Willow Astor. This was I think the final book in the Single Dad's Playbook. This one was adorable. Okay, I had the audiobook for it. It was narrated in dual style by Connor Craze and Vanessa Edwin, and they were so this is the football player and our heroine, and they almost have a one-night stand, and then they don't. And then it turns out she's the new nutritionist for the football team. Her dad is the coach. And our hero, this is the hero, Penn, who's trying to adopt a boy from foster care, and he's having trouble doing it because he's a single man. And Addie is our heroine, and they become like friends, even though they weren't able to fully have their one night stand they wanted to, and now they're like, we can't be together because of other reasons. She actually ends up pretending to be his girlfriend so that he can so that he's able to at least foster Penn, and then they actually get married. And what I loved about this marriage is, yes, it's a marriage of convenience, but they never try to play, well, I'm going to sleep in a different room. Like, they get married and they're like, we're into each other. We may only be married for like a time, but like, we're going to be married. And so they are sleeping together like from when they get married. And I like that because they're like, we're married and we need to have the appearance of it. So why would we deny ourselves the only part of it we'd be denying ourselves, right? Like, we'd be living together, staying together, acting like a couple, having to sleep in the same room for appearances. Why wouldn't we be sleeping together? So I love that. This was adorable. This couple is so sweet. There's absolutely no angst in here except will they or won't they be able to adopt this kid? And of course they are. Of course they are. It is getting hot in here is the other thing. Woo! So this was a 5-star read. I absolutely adore this couple. This whole series is so beautiful. I love these characters. I love these people. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. 5-star read, 3 on the spice scale. I love it. Then I reread Hoarded by the Dragon by Lillian Lark. I talk about this book all the time. One of my patrons wanted this one annotated. This one is about a girl who, she's a thief and she's trying to steal something from a dragon's hoard. And she ends up getting caught by a dragon who is like in heat. And so she's like, hey, I'll give you someone to fuck while you're in heat if you don't turn me in to the council for stealing from you. And so he agrees. So they have a one night stand, and then bada bing, bada boom, she's actually pregnant, which isn't supposed to be able to happen because a dragon is only supposed to be able to impregnate their mate. Well, it turns out she is his dragon's mate, even if she's not his. So the dragon and the man are like separate entities within this one. And so she, of course, doesn't even think about getting rid of the baby because dragons are extremely rare. And also she wants to have a child, and she would, you know, and yeah, super rare. But our hero, he's actually a widow and he's lost a child before. So he's very guarded. There's a lot of like tension in there, but this is a surprisingly thoughtful and like deep, like monster romance. Like, really, it's such a beautiful relationship, and it may start out hot and heavy, but then there's really a like, she's like, we may have had a one night stand, but she's like, I don't actually want to just be used for my body. Like, I'm not into us messing around if you're not serious about it. So he really has to woo her back over, which is a beautiful thing to see. So I mean, that one's a reread, but I still gave it 5 stars and a 4 on the spice scale. He has 2 dicks. At one point, we used both of those dicks at the same time. So there's that fun for you there. Then I had Where We Bloom by Kristen Proby. This one will be out on the 17th, I think. And this is the 3rd book in the Blackwells of Montana. This was the 3rd one. Sorry, I had to look or it was going to bother me. This one is great because this one is a billionaire age gap hero, an Irish hero who is the older brother of, I think Stella was her name. I don't fully remember, but it's the older brother. He's a hotelier. His sister was the dancer, and she got with Billy's brother. And so Billy, she's a bookstore owner. She's plus size. She's sassy as hell. I loved her. And her and Connor actually had a one night stand together. And then he starts running into her because their siblings are dating each other and eventually fall in love. And now he's obsessed with her and keeps running into her. And she's like, you're sending me mixed signals. You don't want anything serious. So stop following me around. And he can't help it. And so then he starts pursuing her. So I like this one because they really are kind of like together for a good part of the book, really getting to know one another. And I really like that. The hero actually had some anxiety about like losing people he loves to kind of like work through. He feels very guilty too that he wasn't able to save his sister. Well, I mean, he does. His sister is fine, but she gets in some like dangerous situations. And yeah, this was just all sweetness, great family series, good setup for the next book. I love the Blackwells. I love Kristen Proby's Montana series. It makes me so happy. So that was another 5-star. This one was dual narrated by Emma Wilder and Connor Craze and will be out on the 17th. Then there was Wrangled Love by Ann Einerson. This is her new series she's starting that will be a small town cowboy romance. And this one was a surprise single dad. So yes, he was surprised by this woman that he had had a one-night stand with. He's a business guy, lives in the big city, and she'd actually died. And he's then finding out about her after the woman has passed, which was really sad to see and everything. But yeah, he's finding out, and now he has this little boy who he immediately jumps in to take care of, had no idea about him. And so he calls his loved ones back in this little small town that he's from. And this actually touched my heart so much because there is Mama Julie, who is, I think, his friend's mom. It might just be someone in the town because I don't know, because I don't think it was the heroine's mom that was Mama Julie, but she's called Mama Julie. And I've maybe shared this before, but my best friend Sarah, her mom is Julie, and literally if I could show you my phone, which I'm recording on right now, I call her Mama Julie. I have my whole life, because she's been my second mom, and so that automatically I felt really connected to this story of this Mama Julie who just wanted to help. And she's like, you have a new son, bring him here. We want to love him. We want to meet him. And so we have little Caleb, who is very shy and he hasn't been speaking. And yeah, he's just very like innocent and sweet. And so Jensen is our hero. He moves back to this town, and he actually ends up moving in with the heroine Briar because she has like, the house she has some rooms, and so he's planning to just stay for the summer because he does have he'd moved away from this small town years ago and he lives in the city, but the longer he spends there, of course, he falls right back into being a country boy, and it was really great to see. And Briar actually becomes kind of his like nanny for the time that he's there, and yeah. So we're definitely going to see more in this series that she has coming. I think Lassoed Love is the next one, or no, Lassoed, I don't think it's going to be called, are they all going to be called Love? I can't remember now, but I know Lassoed is in the next book, but whatever that one's called. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It was a 3 on the spice scale. Very sweet. I love this couple so much. Okay, now the final one that I finished was The Sleepover by Daisy Jane. And yeah, this one isn't out yet, but it is a novella length, and there's a couple things I didn't realize when I was doing this. So Daisy Jane has a new series coming out right now that's called, like, I know one of them is like Dear Coach and Yes Daddy, and it's like one of her kinky series. And then this one is a part of, it's called like the Something Country Club. And what I wasn't paying attention to, this is my own fault, I just signed up for the next Daisy Jane that was coming, is this is part of like an anthology series, right? You see those sometimes, like all the authors are writing about a character who like goes to this country club somehow. So it's going to be a bunch of like rich people, or not, like some of the people there aren't. But this is actually a step sibling romance, but not really, and I'll explain. So it's actually like our characters, their names are Vivian and Reed, and their parents actually meet online in like kind of I think it's like a grief support group. And what neither of the parents like knows, because they're just getting to know each other online, they're both actually like millionaires, and they didn't even plan this on purpose. So it's actually kind of sweet because neither one of them is marrying the other for money, but the dad moves his daughter and him to this new place to move in with his fiance, who he's going to marry. And the fiance has a son named Reed, who is a year older than Vivian. Now, Vivian and Reed don't meet each other right away, because Reed, I believe, is going to college. Like, I think he's a freshman in college, and she's a senior in high school too. So also didn't pay attention to the fact that this is new adults. So that was a little icky to me, and I'll explain. But they meet at like her first party she goes to with one of her friends, which has a bunch of the kids who like go to this, they're the kids of the people that go to this country club. And she ends up wanting to lose her virginity on this night. She's decided to do it, and she meets this guy at the bonfire, and they fuck for the first time. And then when she is home, she finally meets her new stepbrother, who is Reed. So she has now already fucked her stepbrother. He also took her virginity, and she is like, oh no. And so for some reason, you know? I mean, I kind of get it, but like they're going to keep this a secret and not tell their parents. And fine, this was only 150 pages, and my biggest issues with it are like truly kind of spoilers with it. So if you don't want to know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to tell you why I only gave this one 3 stars, probably less than that actually, but it is an arc, so I'll probably keep it at a 3 and not completely bomb it. But what I didn't like about it, I'm about to tell you, so you can just skip if you don't want to know. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. But what I didn't like is that they don't use protection any of the times they have sex. Super obvious that they're doing that. Fine. They're young. I guess realize they wouldn't think to use protection, even though they're like the kids of millionaires. And I don't know. That was awkward. So she gets pregnant and she's been ignoring him. They're really trying to ignore each other because they're like, we want our parents to find love, and if we tell them this, it'll mess things up, I guess. Even though, again, they aren't step-siblings yet. Like, they aren't married yet. They're just like, it's really just like my dad's girlfriend's son at this point, too, you know? But she gets pregnant, and instead of tell the parents, like, she's going to try to trick her new boyfriend into thinking it's his, because the way the time jumps is like they've fucked a few times and they're trying to ignore each other. They both try dating other people. She hasn't slept with her new boyfriend yet, but she finds out she's pregnant. And like the hero, Reed, finds out she's pregnant and is like, I want to help you. And she's like, no, we can't do this. It'll ruin everything. I'm going to try to convince this guy that I'm pregnant. She's 3 months along already. Like, are you dating an absolute moron that when you have sex with this guy, you're going to be able to tell him you're pregnant? And like, is this the 1750s? Like, it made no fucking sense. And I'm like, sure, you can say they're young. Sure, you can say people that might not pay attention. But like, he's also like a millionaire. Like, all of these are rich kids. You think his family wouldn't be sketchy as fuck that you're 3 months along already and you've never slept? Like, it made no fucking sense. And I was like, Daisy Jane, I expect more from you. Like, this, no. Like, she didn't need to be pregnant. Like, she didn't need to be pregnant. That was stupid, because that just made her look dumb as fuck. And I was like, not that she got pregnant, okay? Like, no, I'm not saying that. The fact that she was 3 months along and now going to try to convince her boyfriend, who she hasn't slept with yet, that it's his baby, and trap him into this when she has her soon-to-be stepbrother who's obsessed with her and loves her and will provide for her. She'd rather trick a man who she doesn't care about than just admit that she fucked her stepbrother before they're even step-siblings. Like, so you can use all the excuses you want, that she's too young and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, but then I think she's dumb. Like, you can use those excuses as like, she's scared and that's what she wants. But I'm like, but then she's dumb. And I don't want to read about a character that's being that dumb and honestly cruel, because the kid she's going to trick, like, he's just a nice guy. He's a senior like her. You're going to trick him into a teen pregnancy? Like, it made no effing sense at all. I was just like, no. So, yeah. I don't know. And like, yeah, it was a novella. I'm trying to make it quick, but I just was so, like, I was rage by the end of it. So, yeah, like I said, I'll probably round it to a 3. But it was awful. It's probably the worst Daisy Jane I've read. And I think I've read about 10 now. And even the ones that sometimes ick me out. Like, this one didn't even have ick sexual stuff. Like, this one was just, it was fine. It was just normal things happening. But, like, even the ones that have almost been, like, too much for me with the sexy stuff, right? Like, I felt that way about the last book in the Twisted Sisters. This one just offended me that, like, why did you make a character so dumb? That she would, and cruel. You're going to trick another teenager who maybe he will be like paranoid. And like, what if he wants to use protection? Like, maybe he's not as dumb as you two were. Constantly fucking with no protection. Then what are you going to do? Like, what if he wants to use protection? You know, like, I don't know. It made her very unsympathetic. And I don't know what was up with it. So, ended with kind of a downer, but the 3 before that were 5-star reads. And Yeah. So like I said, I don't know how I feel about Rose and Chains. I mean, I think I'm coming to the feeling that I don't feel great about these. Like I said, I will still read Alchemized because I want to see if that is like held differently. But truly, I think I don't know. It feels so weird to say, but I think I'm going to be a pass on fanfics being published. Like, no one is more stunned than me, you guys, okay? I don't think it's right. I think there's a lot of reasons why it's not right. And I think that there's some things that are just supposed to stay free and stay how they are, right? Like if the whole point, the whole debate about this is that it's stealing intellectual property. And that can't be only if you like the people that can't be only if you hate the people you're doing it to. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. You either have to realize it's stealing all across the board, the same way I feel about AI, or it's not, And yeah, so that's what I think. And I don't know. So again, I'm happy to hear your opinions on it. Let's discuss what you think or how you rationalize it, but I'm nervous. So that's my feel. I will probably still read the ones I've committed to read, but if other new ones are popping up, I'll just stick to the free versions, right? That's the thing is I'm like, this is always free, if you can't find e-copies of this anymore, I'll tell you, there is this Facebook group called Dramini for Kindle, and they have EPUB versions of everything. So even if it's no longer available on AO3 or fanfic.org, there's someone who has a fic of it, and you can read it for free, and you're not there's already a gray area that fanfic exists in anyway, And that's why the ones that get published have to be taken off, because there are terms of service on AO3 that say there can't be published works that are here, So, anywho, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for sticking around all the way to the end of this one. Give me a heart down below if you made it. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.